They thought she'd be the one breaking under pressure. They were wrong, and they didn't realize how wrong until it was too late. There's a strange silence in the room when Caroline Levitt's team receives the email. It's from the Daily Signal, one of the most watched and most ruthless progressive news shows on cable. And they want her, Liv, in studio, prime time. Caroline reads the subject line twice. Formal invitation, guest appearance, the Redding report. She doesn't flinch, just leans back in her chair and stares at the screen. Miles Redding, host, pundit, self-declared truth-teller, is famous for one thing: control. He controls the narrative, the tempo, even the pauses, especially the pauses. And when he invites someone from the other side of the aisle, it's not to discuss, it's to dismantle. "Is this a trap?" Caroline asks, deadpan. Her communications director, Lyle, shrugs. "If it is, they picked the wrong person to walk into it." She smirks but doesn't respond. Instead, she leans forward, clicking through clips of past episodes. Redding cutting off guests mid-sentence, laughing at them, smirking while the camera zooms in just enough to make his dismissiveness feel like gospel. She watches silently, then closes the laptop. "I'll do it," she says. Lyle hesitates. "We should talk strategy. Tone, red lines. You know how." Caroline cuts him off with a calm breath. No strategy, no spin, just me. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. The room goes quiet. The email gets a reply before the hour is up. Her flight to New York is booked that evening. She'll be on Redding's set in 3 days. She doesn't pace. She doesn't rehearse. But something settles in her chest like steel being poured into a mold. Because if they want a spectacle, they'll get one. But it won't be the one they scripted. She didn't know it yet, but this wasn't going to be just another interview. It was going to rewrite the rules of engagement. Caroline's strength was never volume. It was silence, measured, deliberate, steel-tipped restraint. That didn't come naturally. When she was 19, she was humiliated in a campus debate. Live-streamed. She tried to make a point, stumbled, got flustered. The other speaker didn't even win the argument. But he didn't need to. The crowd had decided. She remembered the laughter, the headlines, the tweets. But more than that, she remembered the silence afterwards. She spent a week avoiding mirrors. And then, she didn't. Instead, she started watching the tape. Over and over. Every interruption, every mistake, every moment, she gave them control. She dissected it like a surgeon. That's when she learned. It wasn't the facts that lost her that day. It was the rhythm, the control of the room, the ability to pause when everyone else was shouting. She never forgot that. It's why now, years later, on the eve of the biggest interview of her career, she doesn't rehearse talking points. She revisits war wounds, a folder on her laptop titled Lessons, with 3 S's, intentional. Every clip is a scar, every note a correction. Her posture straightens as she reads through them, not out of pride, but out of purpose. Her phone buzzes. It's her younger brother, Josh, political science student full of fire, zero filter. "You know he's gonna try to bury you in the first 2 minutes, right?" She laughs. "Let him dig. I brought my own shovel." Josh pauses, then says something that hits a little too deep. "Just remember, you don't have to match his volume. You already have his attention." She doesn't reply, just lets that sentence linger. By the time her team lands at JFK, the weather's gray and biting. Her coat is too thin, but she doesn't shiver. She just thinks about rhythm, timing, control, because that's the real debate, not the issue, not the ideology, but who owns the tempo. And she plans to steal it. She learned long ago that composure isn't weakness, it's ammunition, and she was about to load every round. 2 days before the show, the prep room in the hotel suite feels more like a war room. Lyle has color-coded topic maps scattered across the table. Staffers pass laptops back and forth. Coffee cups multiply by the hour. On the whiteboard, 3 words are circled in red. Push, pivot, perform. That's what Redding does. He pushes, you pivot, he performs. Caroline sits quietly while her team acts like she's walking into a firefight. He'll open with a jab, Lyle says, probably about your age or your TikTok clips. Then he'll go after your platform. Free speech, censorship, safe topics. She raises an eyebrow. Safe for who? There's a chuckle, but no one answers. Then comes the rundown from Redding's producer. Topics confirmed, segments locked. She'll be seated opposite Miles for the full hour. Live to air, minimal delay. She reads the lines underlined in the email, looking forward to a thoughtful discussion. Right. Lyle snorts when he sees it. They want blood. They just don't want it to get on camera. Caroline closes the laptop. Then we make them bleed ideas. Everyone goes still. It's not what she says, it's how she says it. Flat, controlled, inevitable. She walks to the window. The skyline buzzes below her, but she doesn't look at it. She just closes her eyes. One hand at her side slowly forms a fist, then unclenches. They can bait her, twist her, interrupt her. But they won't break her rhythm. She isn't there to win a segment. She's there to break the script. They weren't ready for what it meant when she said, "I'm not here to perform. I'm here to expose the performance." The studio looks sterile from the outside. Sleek glass panels, sanitized lobby, white light bleeding through polished walls. But inside, it buzzes with an energy Caroline can feel in her teeth. The receptionist doesn't make eye contact, just scans her ID and motions to the elevator. "You're early," a production assistant says, barely glancing up from her headset. "He's in a mood." Caroline offers a polite smile. "Is that different from his usual?" No answer, just a shrug. Lyle walks beside her, silent for once. He doesn't offer advice. He knows better. Caroline has crossed the line between coaching and game time. She's not listening now, she's calculating. Green Room 3 smells like lemon polish and old coffee. 2 chairs, 1 screen, live feed of the current show. Caroline stands, watches. Miles Redding is on air, tearing into a guest. He doesn't let them speak. He grins while interrupting. It's a show of dominance. But she notices something else. He's afraid of silence. He talks to fill space, can't stand when the camera lingers without words. That's where he's weakest. In the pauses, she files it away. The door creaks. He walks in, smooth, confident, practiced. Well, the internet's favorite firecracker. She doesn't flinch, just extends her hand. "Miles." He shakes it, loose grip, eyes sharp. Most people tweet back, "You actually showed up." She smiles. Some of us prefer sentences to sound bites. That gets a twitch, barely. But it's there. He motions to the producer. "We're live in 10. Keep her mic hot." She watches him leave the room, and for the first time, she exhales. This is it. The lights, the frame, the trap. And she's walking right into it, with scissors in hand. The cameras hadn't even turned on yet, and she was already changing the script. The studio lights feel hotter than they look. Clinical, deliberate. Her chair is angled just slightly away from his, a producer's trick to stage tension. 5 seconds. Red light blinks. Miles launches in like a missile. "Welcome back to the Redding Report. Tonight we've got Caroline Levitt." Former advisor, current flamethrower, and outspoken critic of pretty much everything. She doesn't move, doesn't smile. He continues. "Let's jump right in. Caroline, you've said universities are war zones for free speech. Are you saying students shouldn't protest ideas they hate?" Her voice is low, measured. "No, I'm saying shouting someone down isn't protest. It's theater." He leans forward. So you want safe spaces for conservatives? No, I want dangerous ideas aired without fear, even yours. Boom, a flicker, a pause. He hides it, but she sees it. The control room does too. He chuckles. Dangerous ideas like banning books or silencing teachers? She tilts her head, like pulling fire alarms when someone you disagree with walks on stage. That's not protest, that's panic. He blinks. She's not reacting. She's redirecting. And the audience feels it. He tries a new angle. Isn't it rich to cry censorship while being broadcast to millions? She leans in. Broadcast doesn't mean unfiltered. You know that. He stares. She holds. And for a second, just one, he forgets his next question. He asked a question. She answered with a lesson. 10 minutes in, the energy in the room has shifted. Miles is pushing harder, faster, desperate for a stumble. He interrupts more. His voice gets sharper. He drops the charm. But Caroline doesn't raise her voice. She lowers it. He accuses. She clarifies. He spins. She grounds. And in that grounding, the cracks begin to show. You've built your brand whining about being silenced, he jabs. She smiles. Funny, you're saying that while talking over me. The studio techs pause. The producer looks up. He tries to smirk it off. It's a conversation. No, she says. It's a performance. But I'm not playing the part you wrote. He leans back, folds his arms. You think you're the smartest in the room? No, she says. I think I'm the quietest. And that seems to be working. Boom, again. And this time, the silence afterward is longer. Miles shifts in his seat, looks off camera, his rhythm gone. He mutters something under his breath, then says it out loud. Maybe you should host the show. Caroline doesn't blink. I don't need a stage, I just need a sentence. And the control room? Silent. Nobody expected this. Nobody scripted this. But now everyone's watching, because she didn't just take control of the conversation. She took control of the room. The louder he got, the quieter she became, and that's when he realized he was losing. The moment it happens, it's almost too quiet. Miles Redding, veteran host, master manipulator, loses control of the one thing he always owns, the tone. Caroline says it slowly, deliberately. Do you ever let your guests finish a thought before telling them what they meant? Miles opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. He glances toward the control room, looks back at her, then down at his notes like they might rescue him. They don't. Caroline doesn't smirk, doesn't gloat, just sits still, poised, silent. He mutters something, adjusts his mic. Then, with a frustrated huff, he unclips it. The studio doesn't react. He stands, walks off set. The host, walking away from his own show. The crew, frozen. Nobody cuts the feed. Nobody cues commercial. Caroline turns to camera 2, looks directly into the lens. If walking off is easier than listening, she says, maybe we're not the fragile ones after all. It lands like thunder. In the control booth, Gwen, the showrunner, whispers, we're not cutting. Leave the shot. Let her speak. Caroline straightens, breathes once. This was never about left or right, she says. It's about whether people who ask hard questions get treated like enemies. Whether we can disagree without someone storming off stage. The internet reacts in seconds. Clips flood X. Instagram, TikTok. Levitt destroys host. Redding walks off. Power shift on live TV. Some say she humiliated him. Others say she planned it all. But Caroline knows the truth. She didn't flinch. And that's what shook him. The moment the mic dropped was when no one said a word. The elevator ride down is silent. Lyle stands beside her, scrolling through a blizzard of notifications. You okay? He asks. She nods. What's it look like out there? He glances at her screen. "You're everywhere, trending on every platform." They step out into the parking garage. The evening air is sharp and still. Caroline breathes it in like it's the first clean air she's had in days. "I wasn't trying to humiliate him," she says quietly. "You didn't," Lyle replies. "You were just honest. That's what rattled him." Back in the hotel, she sits by the window. No TV, no noise, just her phone buzzing every few seconds. A text comes through from her brother. "You stayed seated. That's the whole win." She stares at it for a moment and smiles. Later that night, someone sends her a screen recording of the final moment, the walk-off, the stare into the camera, the monologue. Millions are already watching it. But Caroline only replays the part that matters to her. The silence. The moment she didn't break. That's the one that'll echo. Don't mistake control for courage. The strongest voice in the room isn't always the loudest. It's the one that stays calm when everything else gets noisy. Caroline didn't walk out. She didn't scream. She didn't beg to be heard. She spoke clearly. And they had no choice but to listen. Because sometimes the most powerful protest isn't defiance, it's presence. If this story reminded you that clarity matters more than chaos, if you believe that truth doesn't need volume to be powerful, then hit subscribe, because we're just getting started. And the next time the world turns up the noise, we'll be right here, turning up the signal. Subscribe now. Stay sharp. Stay steady.